here with Brad Anderson, CEO of Best Buy. Talk a little bit about how you sort of got involved in Best Buy. You have an interesting story, and I know you started out as a sales clerk.
Yeah.
So how did you make the jump from sales clerk to CEO?
Well, actually, I think this is kind of a colorful story because we used to be called Sound of Music. So I spent the 70s in this little 3-person store in West St. Paul. We had 7 stores, and we were losing a lot of money because our strategy wasn't appropriate anymore. And the company was having trouble paying its bills. So the founder of the company pulls in to my store that I was managing in his car, and I'm sure he's coming in to fire me. And he walks in.
Your sales were that good,
and I was like, I had hair then. It was long hair. It wasn't a lot up here, but I still had long hair. I really looked bad. And then it was he walks into the store and asked me to come outside onto the parking lot. He said, things aren't going well. And I said, yes, I know. And he said, I'm needing to make some changes. And I said, I agree with you. I think we need to make some changes. And he said, and so I'm considering replacing the existing management team with one of these 3 people, all of whom had worked for you at some point in time. Which of the 3 do you think I should choose? I was like, wow, at least I'm not getting fired. But then I did something completely out of character. I said, I think you should choose me. Because I think you should look through the fact that these 3 guys had worked for me and that I should be the person that was... I was shaking when I was telling him this, but and he looked amazed and stunned. But he came back and broke the job into 2 jobs, left me managing the store, but gave me some corporate responsibility, and then chose another person as to counterbalance, and had both of us do it together. And that's how I got the opportunity. But it's one of the things when I'm like trying to counsel anybody, it's a lot of this is being in the right place at the right time, and then knowing how to seize. And I'm the least likely person to seize the moment. It was completely out of character.
And then you sort of followed up in your management style to try and get a lot of the ideas from sort of the bottom tier to the top tier level of people. But like instead of going top down, it's sort of bottom up. Today,
the premise I've got is that people have insight that I can't see, that is better than the insight that somebody can see. Especially the closer you get to the customer, the better the ability you've got to see what the real needs of the business are. And the harder it is for somebody to hear you who may be making that decision. So how do you collapse the distance between the person that can see the customer need and the person in the level where they're making a decision? We're calling it customer centricity, but that's that whole struggle. To be able to take that person, in this case in the U.S., you're dealing with a person with a blue shirt in the store, probably has the best single insight about what your needs are. How do we as a company follow his leadership, not mine? Is there one particular idea that you've noticed that came from sort of down on the bottom that has really helped the company? I think I could take you through anything we do today that we take for granted, and virtually all of it came from some individual, usually a misunderstood, angry individual somewhere in the firm, who is sitting there saying, why won't you do this? And having trouble being heard. And but whether almost anything, and now we take these things for granted, can't even remember who came up with the idea. I can't because I've lived through it, but or many times can. But it was always, and almost always 2 things, one of which is the point of view that you now cherish as normal was unusual. It was hard for people to hear and understand. And it had trouble getting its voice. But once it does, that's... What's the avenue? How do you make it easy for those ideas to be heard? Well, I think the worst thing to do would be to make it easy. Because you need to be fighting for that idea as opposed to just having to accept it. You need that process of being misunderstood helps you figure out how to communicate it in a way that other people can hear. And you need the passion to follow the idea up. So the last thing I'd want to do is build an enterprise that just made it easy to have ideas. So it needs that friction, but it doesn't need so much that it smothers it. And most organizations put so much weight on that you can't hear it.